Hello friends and welcome to Figure Study, where I'm kicking off the first ever theme month on the channel. This month, the month of September, is going to be devoted entirely to Nemesis Primes. I'm calling it I apologize for nothing. This is actually an idea that I've had cooking up for quite some time. I just never had enough Nemesis Primes to do a full month for. Now I have enough that I can probably do more than 2 videos a week and still have enough for the month. I don't know if I'm going to end up doing that, but we'll see how it goes. Regardless, the entire month of September is going to be entirely devoted to black repaints of Optimus Prime. That does mean that some of them won't technically be Nemesis Primes, like Scourge or something like that. That's still, I'm counting that as part of this. To kick things off, we're going to start with the figure that I teased in the last video, and that is, I'm not entirely sure which figure this is. I believe this is a Universe SDCC Nemesis Prime. It was basically a Nemesis repaint of Classics Optimus Prime that I believe was available through San Diego Comic-Con, but then also was distributed at mass retail, so I don't really know what the story is there. But regardless, this is Classics Prime in a very Nemesis Prime color scheme. Well, really, this is more of a Scourge color scheme. And the reason I say that is because it's lacking any of the red that you normally associate with Nemesis Prime, or at least that I normally associate with Nemesis Prime. I know there is I believe it's the Transformers United version of Nemesis Prime that is much more Nemesis-y in its colors with like the red windows and all that. I cannot afford to get that right now. So we're just going to be looking at this one. That said, if I do ever get my hands on the United version of Nemesis Prime, I would love to kind of exchange this guy for that, but for now I'm content with this, because this is a really good figure, like I said in the Classics Prime video, but it is a really nice Nemesis color scheme, or Scourge color scheme. I'm just going to refer to it as Nemesis. As you can see, it's pretty much Classics Prime, same paint layouts and all that, with the exception of the Decepticon logo up there. But the colors are definitely different, where you've got black instead of red. You've got this kind of grayish blue or bluish gray, I guess bluish gray, instead of the regular blue. And then you've got the kind of turquoise, teal all over the place. The silver accents are the same, but I think silver and black looks even better than the red and silver. And the windows, instead of being a dark blue, are a slightly lighter shade of blue, I believe, than Classics Prime has, but they still work. I would have preferred if they were that like deep crimson, but whatever. And I don't know what else I could say about this that I haven't already said about Classics Prime. It's a really convincing looking chunky cab, with the exception of these little feet sticking off the ends there. I would have liked it if the rims were a little bit more prominently painted. They are actually painted. You can see that they're ever so slightly lighter than the wheels, which is good, but I don't know. I think maybe silver maybe would have helped them pop out a little bit more. And of course, there's all that nice detail going around. And it also does, because it's the same mold, it does that thing the Classics Prime did that I thought was a little bit unsightly, in that the windows come down and then you've just got this like shelf right here. It's not the best. It doesn't ruin the figure for me or anything like that, but it's a little bit weird in how that works. The other thing that's kind of disappointing about this particular figure is that the smokestacks aren't painted. Granted, I know I could just swap this for the smokestacks for Classics Prime, or go with some other thing entirely. I could paint them. I've got options, but it's a little disappointing. I feel like that could have been silver, or maybe even they could have done that like metallic-y teal that you can kind of see in there, but they didn't. Still, like I said, good looking truck cab overall. I've got my issues with it, which I've already mentioned, but I think it looks really good in this color scheme. So, moving him back, let's get ready to do our size comparisons. Now, just like Classics Prime, because it is Classics Prime, just in a different color scheme, Universe Nemesis is a decent size compared to standard-ish deluxes. And he's also not exactly equivalently chunky, but decently chunky next to the duck tank. Alright, with the size comparisons out of the way, let's turn this thing into a robot. And if you're familiar with Classics Prime, then it's the exact same thing. But we're going to do it anyway. So here we have the universe, I think, SDCC Nemesis Prime in his robot mode, and it's Classics Prime, but in Nemesis Prime / Scourge colors. And this looks really cool, just like Classics Prime always looks. Again, the color scheme is not exactly the same as it was with like color swaps in truck mode, but there's a lot of similarities in how it's handled here. Like the fact that the dark blue of the legs that are on Classics Prime has been replaced with this bluish gray. The red has been replaced by black. Silver's still in the right places, I think, but then like there's the yellow is now teal, this was darker blue and it's now teal, so on and so forth. More yellow that was teal. I like the lighter silver that they did for the shin vents on this guy too. I kind of wish they did that on regular Classics Prime, but I feel like I've said all I could say about that robot mode, but this one, it still looks just as good. It's got the really interesting, like still Optimus Prime, but more stylized and different. Like it still reads as that character, but the proportions, some of the design elements really help to set it apart, and I really wish we would do more of that because I'm getting so freaking sick of revisiting G1 over and over and over and over and over and over and over. But that is a rant for a different time, because I've had that rant several times in other videos, but I definitely like the look of it here. I'm not gonna lie, I would prefer the United version with those blood red windows and slightly different color scheme, but I still think for what it is, this is really cool. And the teal and the black does look really nice. I just think it's missing a little bit of red. As for the weapons, which we've already transformed, here is the smokestack gun, which again, I just wish that there was some paint on this. The shape is good, and it looks good, and he looks, you know, plenty capable holding it, as though he were going to shoot someone. But it's just so plain, especially in comparison to, well, the rest of him, and also compared to Classics Prime's gun. It's just, I don't know, I feel like they really could have done something with this. But like I said, I could do it myself. This gun is pretty much the same as the other Classics Prime, as like the regular Classics Prime version of this gun, except instead of black, it was red, so here we've got black and silver, there it was red and silver. This one, for some reason, does not like to, like, it's easy to pump this out of place. It's not gonna sag or anything like that, like it's not loose, it's just, I wish this sat flush. It just doesn't want to do that. I'm not entirely sure what the issue is. You can't really notice it. It's more of a tactile thing. And as with Classics Prime, I feel like it just looks a little bit goofy when he's holding it this way. So I prefer to do the underslung thing. I know, it's silly to say that because I'm complaining that this one's all black and you don't get any painted detail, and this one, it's when you're looking at it from this angle, it's all black, but still, it's a bigger gun. I feel like it looks better that way. But then you do also have the option of keeping this folded up and just attaching it to his back. So if you wanted to do that, you could do that, or this would let go. You can, I do wish that you had other options for this, but you can attach it to his fist, and he can use it. You can attach it to his fist, and he can use it kind of like a shield, though that peg's really loose for some reason. It's weird. I don't remember Classics Prime having that issue. And like a fool, I completely forgot to talk about his head. It is Classics Prime's head, but in the Nemesis, or in this case, this particular Nemesis paint scheme. And I like it. The darker, kind of bluish gray is, I think it's the same shade as what we get in the legs, pretty sure. The silver faceplate is nice. I like the teal and the head crest, and I also particularly like the kind of reddish, metallic-y purple, reddish purple that they've got in the eyes. Those are very nice. Not quite as piercing as, say, if something was a sharp metallic red, but still looks good. So yeah, Nemesis Prime, SDCC Universe Nemesis Prime, whatever the heck this thing's called, is a very cool figure because Classics Prime is a very cool figure. And I know I already said I prefer the United Nemesis Prime color scheme over this one, but if I had to choose between this or Classics Prime, I would probably go with this one because I just like the Nemesis paint scheme better. It's just that is the biggest disappointment, and the lack of red wings, but whatever. I've harped on enough about that, right? Right. So again, as with Classics Prime, The Nemesis repaint of Classics Prime is the same size, so he's much bigger than a standard deluxe. Wears his bulk a little bit differently, but still big and imposing. And let's move him in just a little bit more here. There we can see him with the duck tank. And that's gonna do it for Nemesis Prime. Well, this particular Nemesis Prime. There will be plenty of other Nemesis Primes as the month goes on. I don't entirely know if there's going to be a pattern to how I cover them. I'm just kind of grabbing them off the shelf and going with whatever. But for now, that is this one. And next time I'm going to be looking at another Nemesis that is a repaint of a figure I've covered previously, because I figure why not keep that train a-rolling, right? And that one, much like this one, but to an even greater extent, is something that I vastly prefer the Nemesis repaint over the original color scheme. I feel like I've been talking in circles about this guy for the past way too long. It's a great figure, because Classics Prime is a great figure, and this color scheme is great, as I've said. Not my preferred Nemesis color scheme for this figure, but this one I could afford and the other one I cannot. But I'm curious to know what you all think. Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. Remember, art is more than meets the eye, and I will see you in the next video for something a little bit bigger.